Okay, I just clicked go live, Billie Jo, and just in a second. Oh, it's streaming already on Facebook. Welcome to Comic Spot, people. Today we have some royalty in the house. She's performed everywhere. And when I say that about her, I'm not just talking out my yin yang. I mean it. She's performed everywhere. Let me read this intro she sent me, and I quote. And when I say she, I mean Billie Jo Gillispie is here.
Hello.
That's her right there. Say hi to her, everybody. You're going to love her, support her. She's a good person. She's wonderful. And she's a fellow sister as far as being in the military. We're both military vets, and I love her to pieces. Her intro. This may seem, oh no, I don't have to say that part. She's um, she's she's been in a book. You have something in a book, and I don't know how to explain it. Can you
I'm one
explain?
of the gazillion authors of the book. Uh,
Okay,
Comedians Are People Too, and Other Lies. This
okay.
was a project that the Denver and Colorado comedians got together and collaborated on this. This was our quarantine project.
Oh wow! And so when you say that your comedians are people too, comedians are people too. That's because the premise would be that people assume we're not human because we should just crank out jokes, but we have feelings too.
Right? Stay off the politics. Get back to being funny. You know, etc. Yes.
Got it. I love that premise.
But
She has
each
a
comedian wrote their own chapter. Some of them are true stories, some of them are fiction. We all got one chapter to do our thing.
wow. I got to get the book.
It's available on Amazon.
And can I get it on Kindle?
Yes.
Oh, good. I'll get it today. You can count on it. I will go get it on Kindle today and read your chapter. I'm kidding.
Oh no, no, they're all amazing.
I'm kidding. So you've got to buy the book. That's what we got to do. We got to support good people. Quit supporting the schmucks out there. And you know who I'm talking about. Yeah. So comedians are people, and other lies. Is that comedians are people too, and other lies. Got it.
Yes.
It's on Amazon and Kindle. Comedians are people too, and other lies. So Billie Jo Gillispie has a whole chapter in that book. And then the rest of her intro is my virtual show, Outhouse Comedy, is the first and third Wednesday of every month. Here's the event page. I'll post it later for the next show, or I'll be watching it, Billie Jo. I think that's all I have for the independent promotion. And so there we go. That's her intro. You guys, welcome, Billie Jo Gillespie.
Thank you. It's so good to see you again.
So good to see you, Billie Jo. How's life?
It's pretty good. I really enjoyed hanging with the Vegas scene this last week, but it's good to be home, cuddle with my dog.
What kind of dogs do you have?
He's a mutt. He's Golden Retriever, Pit Bull, and German Shepherd.
Wow.
I got him the day that the VA said they would sign off on me getting a dog. When I met him and met the trainer, and I asked, "Does he play ball?" Everybody lit up. Turns out he's a total fetchaholic, so he and I are so perfect for each other.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. And it's much more fun than having a homing pigeon.
Yeah.
I heard. So I have brain trauma and I'm a veteran and I pulled a prank on the VA hospital in Portland. I went in there and I said with a straight face, believe it or not, I went up to the MP, the police, and I said, the VA police, and I said, I have a brain injury. And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I'm like, I have a brain injury and memory problems. And my doctor signed a piece of paper that I could have a service animal for my memory, right? Like I had it, but I didn't show it to him. And he goes, okay. And I said, so which door do I bring in my elephant?
I would have wanted video of the reaction. I mean, moments like that are what TikTok is made for.
Take it to TikTok. I had so much fun with that thought, like it said in there I could have any service animal. So of course, who's better than an elephant for a brain injury? You're not going to forget where you put the elephant.
I love it.
Stupid, isn't it? Oh my gosh. So let's talk about you growing up, because we'll get to the military connection we have. But you grew up in where? What city?
Lone Grove, Oklahoma.
Whoa. And was there only one grove there?
This is a time. There was a population of 4,000 when I lived there.
Okay.
So yeah, huge place. Yeah.
Wow. What's it like growing up in Oklahoma in a smaller, quote unquote, smaller town?
I didn't realize how racist it was till I left.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But I knew people from kindergarten all the way through the time that we moved back to Colorado. And that was 10th grade. We went all the way through together. We didn't switch schools and have to make new friends all over again come junior high because it's the same kids. For that reason, I am still bonded with these ladies. I'm still grateful every time I go home that we can get together and be just dumb girls again.
So cool. So who in your life told you were funny and encouraged you? Did anybody come along and say, one day I bet you're going to be a comedian, or you're so funny?
Oh no, I was the one that was punched in the mouth for what they said and told they weren't funny. And I'm like, well, I disagree.
Wow. How did you go from Oklahoma not being encouraged to where you're at now, where you're killing on stage and you're well known across the country? I mean, you are well respected for your craft.
Thank you. When I was a PFC in Okinawa, Nancy Norton was part of a troupe that came through. And although you know how it is in the military, the guys weren't listening. They were talking over or so forth. But I was standing back there just amazed watching her thinking, wow, I've got to try that one day.
That's cool.
So.
Did you ever get to tell her?
Oh, yeah. Well, we figured out one night while we were talking at a mic that it was her.
How cool
She was like, hey, wait a minute. What year was and we got to talking more and we realized it was her,
Oh.
That was when I decided to try it. I didn't actually get a chance to try it until my kids were teenagers, and I knew that I wasn't abandoning somebody at home to go do what I wanted to do.
Yes. So you, at some point in your life, what kind of student were you? Most comedians were terrible students.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It sucked.
Cool. And so, when you grew up, did you have people around you who were funny, or were you the funniest in your group? Did the school know, I just have to know what it was like being Billie Jo growing up. That's where I'm going with this. Anything you want to say?
I was the kid that was made fun of a lot, and I gave them plenty of reason. So I wouldn't say that I really got my humor from clowning in school, because like I said, most of the time my attempts got me punched in the face.
When did humor come out then?
Okinawa,
after your tour in Okinawa.
Well, there were a few times when I was in the military where I would try to be funny, and afterwards, staff sergeant would be like, I know you were trying to be funny, but everybody thinks you're a bitch right now. you know. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of learning that had to be done.
Yeah. What's something did you have a funny remark or retort when you went through the military that you're like, I'm so glad I got that lick in? Because I got one.
Yes, but I don't even remember them anymore.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, the ones that I talk about on stage, yeah. So
Yeah. Oh.
I will never forget being in the jungle and having the sergeant screaming like a bitch while all the women are around him trying to get him to shut the fuck up.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
When
um,
when I was in, we had a lieutenant. I was the only woman with 2,000 men in Germany on the post. I got there and the other woman said, "Well, it's all yours. I'm leaving." And I'm like, 2,000 men, right? And all day long, every day, it was baby, you wanna. Oh, and I had to say F off all day. Well, I had a lieutenant, and the top brass was not going to stop that kind of stuff back then. So I had a lieutenant, and whenever I'd walk in his office, it was all men. And when I'd walk in, the subject changed, stopped, looked at me, and he would always say the same thing. He'd say, "Yeah, they call me the 60-minute man." And the men would all laugh. So I got so sick of hearing it. One day I said, "What, to get it up?" And I never heard that again or got promoted.
it was my first day at Camp Johnson waiting for MOS school. So school hadn't even started yet. I met this young man who every time I came into his presence, he was immediately pissed off. You know, doesn't take a rocket scientist to know what his issue is. My presence. So when I walked out to where the smoke pit was and I lit a cigarette and he just stewing and stewing and finally he says, "They're looking for a few good men. What the fuck are you doing here?" That man will never leave my set.
Oh, that's so cool.
I mean, that set the pace. That for my enlistment. That let me know what I was in for with some of these clowns.
Wow.
You know, because
Absolutely.
they joined the Marines so that they could be the biggest, the baddest. And here's this little pipsqueak female, kind of makes them question how bad they are. You know, totally
Yes.
spoiled their parade.
Yes. So I have a question for you.
What's that?
Um, what like do you think nowadays in the military that the sexual harassment against women is better? Because I'm hearing from females that are even recruiters telling me it's no better. Female
It's not,
recruiters.
not yet. At least now there is visibility to it. So now things may start changing. When the sexual harassment is so bad that you hide the fact that a soldier is missing, you know, we all watched what happened with what we had to go through, what we had to expose of our own experiences to get them to even look for Vanessa Guillen. That soldier should have been. They didn't even report her missing because they had been sexually harassing her so much.
Oh my gosh. We had a girl that came to my unit and she had been gang raped in basic training. And when we got her, she was, they should have done a 5150 hold on her, really. And she got there and everybody's making fun of her. And then they wanted me to help her, but she was too scared at the end of the day to walk 2 buildings over from our office to the barracks to sleep. And she would sleep under the commanding officer's desk every night and never take showers. And they finally sent her home not because she'd been injured, because she flushed her paycheck down the toilet one day and they had to dig up the sewers, and that was too much trouble for them. So that's why she was sent home. Not because she was damaged.
Well, I hope that the days of why should I let this man's career be ended over her accusation are over.
Yes.
Because that is what you and I heard.
That's right.
And that is not what should have been said. And I think now we are in a position to finally have change on that.
Yes, I hope so. I was really
It is
encouraged.
unfortunate what women have gone through for us to finally be able to say that this is fucked up and have the men stand with us. And that's the change that is happening, is the good men are finally speaking up instead of turning away.
Yes.
And that's what's going to help us to push equality without being at risk.
Yes. Yes. So when you went in the military, how many years did you go in for, and what was your MOS?
I went in for one enlistment, and I was an 0151, but I was no better of a Marine than I was student, pretty average, kind of got in trouble, got shifted around a little bit, ended up attached to the ops, which was way better than being your basic administration. Because when I was attached to ops, their attitude was, well, if she has to write something down, it's administrative. So they would have me fill any billet. So I really got some OJT on some much better MOSs that I would have chosen if I had known they existed,
Totally. So did you only go to Japan, or like you had base schooling? Tell us about the schooling you went to, what cities, and where you went when you were permanent stations.
My schooling was Camp Johnson, which is part of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. The awesome thing is that was Moffett Point. For those who don't know what that is, my schoolhouse was very historic buildings. It was the barracks of the first Black Marines. And luckily, I had been told about the historic value of the place and really got to soak in and appreciate it, because my military instructor during high school had been trained at Moffett Point before the Marines was desegregated. He served in Korea and Vietnam, and then taught high schoolers after that.
Was that in ROTC in high school?
Yes, junior ROTC in high school, yes.
Wow. So when you went in the military, you went to basic training in North Carolina?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, basic training for females is Paris Island, South Carolina. It's off in the Elizabethan Sound. All women still at this time are trained at 4th Battalion, which from a distance looks like a fortress. It was the newest battalion barracks when I was there. I understand that they have finally replaced some of the barracks that the men were in from before World War II.
And the uniforms, the sexy uniforms they let the women wear in the military. Can you address that, just so novices get the drift?
These things were totally designed to accentuate a woman's body. The baby doll fashions of the last few years is an idea. Everything was hourglass. When I met my roommate, Lisa Cook, amazing woman, I would have never guessed she was butch. Because this uniform totally made her look femme. That's the reality of it.
Oh God. Oh my God.
We are made, those uniforms were absolutely made sexist. And I am so glad that now the uniforms, at least the blues, I felt like I was dressed similar to a stewardess. Not all people recognized a women's Marine blues as a Marine Corps uniform when I was in.
Wow.
Now the women have the collar, you know, they look very similar to the men, and I feel like at least one of the uniforms is better.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh.
I've
Oh.
noticed that they don't have some of the women's, like the Charlie's blouse is not as form fitting as it used to be, which is a positive.
Good.
Because, I mean, that made any woman with a bust really self conscious, the way they would tailor the waist.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't even have boobs, and it made me self conscious.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. What's the craziest experience in the military that was funny? Then you look back and go, I'll never forget that. Or maybe you use it in your material and don't want to say it.
I had surgery on my ear that previous week, and the only thing left on my light duty chit was no formation. I got in on Friday morning, and they said, you got to go to formation. I was like, no, can't. That's the only thing on my chit. They're like, no, you have to go. You're receiving an award. So I end up in front of formation. At about the time I realized why on this medication I should not be standing in formation. As the lieutenant colonel is talking about how great it is to hear these things about his Marine, I'm turning green and puked on his shoe.
Oh my gosh.
He was furious. You know, and of course, the automatic thought with us being the service board in a bar is, oh, she's drunk in formation. Yeah.
Yeah. And that wasn't it at all.
It took me a minute to get past that mistake.
What's the funniest thing in your comedy career that's ever happened to you at a club or to another comic that maybe like you see it as funny from your twisted way of looking at things? Because we're all twisted. So I giggle at the time that there was a host at Harvey's in Portland and we were doing a mic and there was big windows, you know, and there was a kerfuffle outside with some homeless people. So he invited them to come inside and fight because that made sense. But this is like,
You know, I really love some of the stuff that we have done here in Boulder. And Brent Gill runs a wonderful thing over, well, it used to be at Bohemian Beer Garden. And John Novosad, being such an amazing comedian that he is, did his set from outside in the alley looking through the windows of this historic building.
oh my gosh.
He stood on a milk crate and did his set from outside through the windows like this.
My God.
And if you know John Novosad, you know that he looks homeless. You know, if you just think it's stereotypes, you're like, yep, that dude's homeless. And so it was hilarious.
Wow. Did you say Frank Gill was the other person?
Brent Gill runs the show. He's the producer of it, Boulder Comedy Show.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what is something you've accomplished doing comedy across the country? I saw you at West Side Comedy Club. I paid to watch you the other day, and then I had a conflict with something else that came up, so I couldn't stay and watch you. But you got on at West Side Comedy Club with the Michelle Ballin.
I know. It was so amazing to watch her work. Holy cow. I mean, there are so many advantages to doing the Zoom show, and one of them is getting to watch talent of that level. And I was taking notes and geeking out the whole time because she's so amazing. And that's not the first show that I've been like that on, during this
Yes.
quarantine. It was just an amazing surprise to get to work with Mike Kaplan, to work with Michelle Allen. There's been so many that I'm just like, whoa, this is awesome.
You're getting on with the heavyweights. That's so
Yes,
awesome.
and getting to learn from them. And that is the best part,
Yes.
because if you want to be an open micer, learn from open micers. If
Yes.
you want to be a headliner, learn from headliners.
Yes.
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 A lot of people tell me they don't pay anymore to see comedy shows. When Josh Blue is at South Club, better believe I'm shelling out, and quite often I'm in the front row because I learn so much every time. I'm still paying for comedy shows because I'm still learning from these amazing comics.
Me too. I will go. At Harvey's in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
I watched every show every week for a year. I learned by watching. I'd rather learn from their mistakes than my own. Can we talk?
Right?
I'm kidding. I learn what they're doing right. I really look for what they're doing right, not for what they're doing wrong. That'll get you down the wrong track. That's a slippery slope.
There is a podcast that I would love to see come back after the quarantine is over. It was called Talking Shop. And, Anthony Crawford ran it. He's a fellow veteran. But he would have these comics who are doing great things in their career come and answer questions about how they're doing it. And one of the episodes when I got up and I was like, so what is your best advice? And I asked this of his guest, Ben Roy, and Ben said, don't ever turn down stage time. And I took that to heart. And the next thing I knew, whenever somebody would reach out, I'm like, heck yeah, how much time? Let's do it. And when I took on that attitude, it's like I got exponentially better because I was just always on the stage.
And everybody would want to call you to book you because there was no hesitation.
Right? Because they knew I was hungry.
Yes. So what's your best advice for, say, me, 63 years old? I started when I was 63. I'm 69 now, 6.5 years in with brain injury and PTSD. I'm white, I'm straight, I'm playing to any kind of audience that'll listen. What would your advice be to me?
The same thing somebody told me. Talk about being a veteran because that's what makes you stand out.
Yes.
That's what makes you memorable, and that's what'll get you booked. Because once I started taking that advice, yeah, I got funnier because my stuff was from the heart.
Exactly.
And
so
I wasn't trying to create a niche, but here I am, and I'm really enjoying being the voice of women veterans.
Yes, and let's talk about your military material. I mean, you're not just up there saying, well, look at me, I'm a military veteran. You got jokes. I mean, you just bam, 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 bam. And you sell it and you bring people into your stories. You know what I mean? Like anybody could read the words you're saying and get what you're doing. But to watch you perform, I don't even know what you're doing. I'm mystified. And I love that. It's like a present. If you know what's inside the package, you don't want to open it anymore. I want to see you over and over again. And I want to figure out what you're doing over time. I don't know what you're doing right now. I just know you're doing something at a level that is mystifying me.
Thank you so much. It's so sweet.
But it's true. And you're doing it to a crowd of people who might be anti-military, but you're bringing them on the ride.
I really love connecting with the audience. And the more connected I feel, yes, the more I can take them on my wild ride.
I loved watching you. I loved it.
Thank you. That show was amazing.
That was you were killing it. You killed that show. You were obviously the best set of the night,
Oh,
hands
Amanda
down.
rocked it.
Who? Oh, Amanda.
Amanda.
I'm partial to the style of comedy that you bring,
Thank
and
you.
that's a choice. It doesn't reflect negatively on her, but I gotta say, you have everything. Plus, you're the style of comedy. Plus, you're my sister, military veteran, so I can't go with Amanda in any way. I can't. I
Right.
can't.
One of the local comedians there, I'm sorry, I missed her name. She came by and said, I just love that the women slayed on this show tonight. And I was just like, you're right, we did. You know?
And that happens a lot. Excuse me, I tried to eat something and it didn't work. But yeah, I've seen it a lot of times at his shows that the women bring it. Not that the men don't, but the women seem to know. It's a very pro women having a voice crowd. Did you feel that?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Even the folks from Missouri didn't cross their arms when I said I was a woman veteran.
They didn't.
But then again, the comedian before me really set me up by saying he didn't serve because he was a coward.
That was hilarious that he said that. I
My
leaned
only
in.
thought was that I'm following
Thank you for the gift.
it. Right? Thank you. I think I shall.
That was a great way to break the ice. I love it. The other night I was on a Zoom show, right? And the person, or a mic, it doesn't matter. They're all the same lately anyway. And so it really does matter, but you get the point. And
Yeah.
so there's this lady who happened to be from Japan, and she was talking about not wanting to go to heaven. She'd rather go to hell. And the whole set was about how this Japanese lady wanted to go to hell. And I was like, oh, Linda, don't do it. Don't do it. And I had to do it. So I said, when I got up after I followed her, and I said, oh my God, I am so glad to be here. And it's so awesome because I've always wanted to follow a Japanese Satan worshiper. She was a really cool person. She thought it was funny. She could have gone the other way.
Right?
And I don't know if it was mean spirited. I didn't mean it mean spirited. I just thought
It didn't sound mean spirited to me.
good.
Now, I was a guest host for an open mic here in Boulder one night, and a lot of new faces came out. And when somebody bombs you, when you're the host, you have to address it.
Yes, you do.
And so there were several attempts at comedy that needed addressed, and in the outro. And this one guy when he ended his set, he says, I guess I'll give it back to the Aryan princess now.
Crap.
And I was like, I would like to think he called me a science experiment.
Good one.
Bartender, nope, he called you a Nazi. Like, okay, one not in my fan club. Oh well.
Oh man. I had two. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I started in SoCal, went to Portland back home. And Portland's a very racist, passive aggressive place. And like I love getting on stage and picking on the racism of the town. My favorite thing to say, and when I start out was, I come from a very racist town. You stare at them like they're gonna wonder why did I stop talking. I come from a racist town. Maybe you've heard of it, Portland, Oregon. And they would die laughing because they know it's true. And then you've addressed, and I go, yeah, we've made the racism so much better. Well, we've chased the black people out of here. That's how we made it better. But whatever, gentrify, whatever you want to call it. And I would dig in harder, with the racism stuff till they couldn't take anymore. Oh yeah, no, you're gonna talk about it. I had to grow up in this town.
I really don't address it much when I go home because some things have changed and some things have not, and I would just rather enjoy my visits.
Yeah, yeah.
My group of friends, yeah, great, but discuss it with anybody else, no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably not like my smartest move, but it felt good and it's a good shocking opener.
Well, I have taken to making more fun of Colorado in general. Uh, the town where I was born here in Colorado, Thornton, the year I got out of the military, they had a brand new police station. Somebody put a body on the lawn, and it took 3 days for them to realize it wasn't a mannequin. When I started making a couple of jokes about the police, and experiences I've had recently, all of a sudden that came up, and I was feverishly working on how to make that a tag to something, that goes in there somewhere.
Oh my gosh, that's a tag and a potential callback, and
When I
man.
finally got it worked in, I was just like, okay, yeah, that works. And I've gotten more and more stuff to add to that. I got pulled over walking in St. Louis. That needs made fun of. We had a cop here in Boulder go elk hunting on duty. That's where the jokes all started. And you've seen my work. I love to tie things together and make it just this nice long story to where you don't even realize it was a segue. And so, yes, I have a nice little story about the cops and being stopped walking, and it's a lot of fun. I can't wait to get some good video of it in front of an audience. Um, I'm hoping to get that soon.
Are you
even if I have
planning
to
on
Zoom audience it?
Are you planning on coming back to Vegas soon?
As soon as things break, yes.
Because I'm a registered vendor down at Fremont Street to tell jokes.
Awesome.
And if you want, I'll get a date when you're going to be in town, and you can have it for 2 hours with me.
That sounds fun. Yes, definitely.
It's a riot. It's a riot.
Now, I shut down everything live that I was producing in at the end of October, and I have the Zoom show Outhouse Comedy going on this Wednesday. But I'm not booking anything live beyond what I have this next week until February.
Got it.
Yeah, I feel like it is the responsible thing to do.
I agree with you.
I admit, this Friday I'm down in Denver at the Mercury Cafe. This Saturday I'm up in Casper, Wyoming at what's it called? Butch's Happy Days. And then my next live performance is not booked, and I don't plan on booking it until at least February. Hopefully by then we have some idea of what Under Control is going to look like and are headed that way.
Yes, yes. Well, when you come, let me know so I can get us a space at Fremont Street.
Definitely. That will be so fun.
And we'll videotape you doing it.
Definitely. I've done a little bit of busking here in Boulder to try to keep things going, and ran an open mic in a public park. But
me too. Important. Don't you love it?
It's fun. It is fun, and I didn't get any video because, let's be honest, when you're used to performing to a decent sized crowd, 5 isn't what you want a picture of you performing in front of.
Yes, blades of grass, maybe. You know.
We all look like studs on our social media. Everything's sold out. Nobody realizes that's 7 people.
$5 a pop.
We each got $250 for performing, and yeah, there's a decimal there.
I would like to give you the floor for the next up to 9 minutes to talk to me or talk to people that will be watching, to let them know who's the essence of Billie Jo, why you're on doing comedy, who you want as fans, how can they support you, anything you want to say I didn't ask. Anything.
Okay. I am a big advocate for national food rescues. And we have one here in Boulder, and I unfortunately did not get the opportunity because of COVID to go and visit the one in Las Vegas, but they are doing amazing things. If you don't know what a food rescue is, folks, that is where you know that food banks receive your non-perishables.
Yes.
But there's a lot of produce being thrown out by grocery stores and by farmers only for lack of need or because it didn't sell. What the food rescues do is they receive the perishables, and that very day they get it out to those in need, whether it's through food banks or getting it to low-income daycares, the food pantries at the actual low-income housing facilities and nursing homes, so forth. Well, not so much nursing homes, but independent living. Places where people with food insecurity live, they get the fresh food to them that day. That way it's not sellable because it's no longer pretty, but it's still very usable.
Yes.
And food insecurity, especially now, is really a problem. So if you're in need, reach out. And if you're not, please see how you can help. See if they need volunteers or if they can donate. Food rescues, there's over 100 now around the nation, but there's a lot of cities that could still use them. So if this sounds interesting to you, please reach out. And if there's not one in your city, help start one, because they're doing great things.
I love that. So who is Billie Jo, and who are your fans, and who do you want as fans, and where are you at on the internet, and what's coming up that they can support? All of that.
I love everybody. I want to talk to everybody, but I do find more and more I am becoming known for being the voice of women veterans, because a lot, I speak a truth that isn't represented very much on stage, and we do need visibility.
Yes.
And I do bring my activism to the stage in ways that people don't realize. I come out in my first joke, and for those who don't realize that, by the time later on in the set they pick up on what that meant, they realize they're the only one in the room that has a problem with it.
Yes.
So in my own way, I bring my activism to the stage.
Yes, you do. Very well. You do it very well. Not over the top, but if there was ever anybody out there who was uncomfortable with activism of any kind, they would not have a problem with yours. So
they don't realize it.
Yes.
I do a lot of shows out in the plains, in the small towns. I love doing that. I love the audiences because they get me. When I talk about my small town experience on the farm, they get it. They may have had a family member who thought it was funny to name an animal the same as them, So when I don't change my set to go into these small towns, I get a good idea of where America is in the fight for equality, because I don't leave out the part where I'm gay. I don't leave out the part where I make fun of some of the odd things people say to me about being gay. And the worst thing that's been said to me by an audience member afterwards was, we're just not as liberal as Denver. America, if that's the worst you've got, we're getting so much better.
Oh,
You
man.
know, yeah, we see a lot of places where there's more to do, but I can see that we are getting more tolerant of each other and in the right ways.
Yes. And to a large extent, I think that the millennials have helped get us there.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I'm tired of people poking mean fun at the young people because
Every generation goes through it. Gen X was told we were lazy, that we wouldn't ever amount to anything, blah, blah, blah. Hey guys, we made the internet.
That's right.
So much for Gen X never accounting for anything.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, the millennials will take shit just like we did, and then they'll pop right out of it just like we did.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, but they've done a lot of good as far as equality.
Yes.
In that Women's March. Well,
Yes.
I was so blown away at the support.
I mean, I know we're hearing a lot of loud voices from the intolerant, but they're not that many.
Good.
Even though they make it look like it right now, they're not. Look how hard they had to push to get that numbers.
Yeah. So what has the pandemic done to you that has made you a better human? I ask this of everybody.
I don't know that it has. I think it just kind of is showing what kind of humans we are.
Yeah.
I showed that I'm one who can't sit still even when I'm sitting still. When the pandemic hit, I was like, gotta do something. Went manic, running from any kind of a depressive state, and turned it into a show where I was hooking up my road friends with my local friends, going, hey, you guys should meet, and that has turned into working with some amazing comedians and helping to get people paid when they weren't sure if they were going to get unemployment.
You got to help people with that?
Yeah, well, during quarantine in the spring, yeah, we had great audiences for the Zoom shows because not everybody was doing them and people weren't tired of them. And so, yeah, I was able to pay out decently to quite a few comics.
That's great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Wow. There's nothing better than being ethical that'll help your career. Being a person of your word, you're going to pay them, you pay them. Sometimes if more people show up, you pay them a little more. People remember that. Yeah, kudos.
Even on my live shows, the tips, I didn't earn those. Wow. If the performers cause that tip bucket to be heavy, their pocket should be heavy. Wow. And I have seen some performers who, when, they got 20 or, so more than they were told they would get, or what's this? It's what you earn, dude. And I watch their eyebrows go up because they're not used to that from some,
Absolutely. Okay, I want to read where you can support Billie Jo Gillispie again. She's in a book. She has a whole chapter. She's featured in this book with an entire chapter. The book is on Amazon and Kindle, and it's called Comedians Are People Too and Other Lies. Comedians Are People Too and Other Lies on Amazon and Kindle. And please get out and watch her virtual show, Outhouse Comedy, the first and third Wednesday of every month.
This week we have Thanks a Lot Giving, because it's 2020, you know. So we're
Wow.
going to make fun of Thanksgiving. Come join us. It's 8 o'clock on Mountain Time.
Okay. So that's 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern.
No,
I don't
10
know.
Eastern.
10 Eastern. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I guess it would be. Okay, cool. There's 4
We're getting
of them.
better at time zones, aren't we?
Now it's for the days of the week. Gosh, what a crazy world we're living in, having to know this stuff, right? But we're alive, so we're winning.
Right.
So many people didn't make it. Here's
And the
to
numbers
them.
are still rising. I know that while we've been talking, the governor of Colorado made a statement. I'm almost wondering if he is closing stuff back down. I know the other day he said he's going to try his best not to, so as not to affect the economy too bad. But you know,
Yes.
we're at our highest numbers ever, so I'm thinking things are about to change on that.
I feel like it's going to happen, you know, across the country. It
Yeah.
should. I mean, otherwise, why are some closing and not all? Because it's never going to. We should just commit to a time to close down. But whatever.
We just have to agree how.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a big nation, so full of opinions. The agreement
Yes.
on how is the problem.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You've been a doll to come on here. I adore you. All things Billie Jo Gillispie. Support her. Support good
so
people.
Much for having me.
Stop supporting the schmucks and support Billie Jo Gillispie. Take your money and buy her book and get in and watch her show. Like, support her. That's what we do.
Since I have my website up and running, I'll be able to make my t-shirts available other than just after the shows.
Oh, wonderful. When you have that up, let me know so I can promote it.
I sure will. Thank you.
As a graduate of Comic Spot, you get to come back on every month if you want for 5 or 7 minutes to plug anything you want.
Oh, thank you. That is awesome.
I would be honored if you would just keep saying, okay, it's January. And I go, it is? Yeah, that means come back on. Thank you so much, Billie Jo Gillispie.
Thank you for having me, Linda.
I love you. I adore you. I adore you. Bye.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.